All right, hi, it's Andrew Potter, Uplift Audio. My other job is Technical Director of Prairie College. Thought I'd give a tour of the tech booth to my friend Tim Blaze here from TCC up in Edmonton. And he just had some questions about some of this stuff to get an idea of where they can go in the future. So I thought, why don't we film this? Then he has that information for later, and I can also just put this on the channel too. So, hello, Tim.
Hello.
I think the easiest place to start is actually the booth itself. So, we recently, a couple of years ago, built this one. You remember the old one was up in the air and terrible. So, one of the big things was noise. So, like, you could hear whenever someone moved or rolled a chair. So when we built this one, it's on 2x8s on the floor, and then we glued and screwed 1/2-inch plywood, 2 layers of it. And then underneath that, we actually filled it with insulation.
Okay.
So this doesn't echo because it's full of fiberglass insulation, or rock wool, actually. And then the glued and screwed offset double layer keeps it from squeaking.
Right.
So nice solid platform to be on. Underneath, which will be harder to see on the camera, I might post a picture of it later, but under here we've got 4 panels that pop out and gives us access to in the wall.
So you made a space in between the wall for cables to run from?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 1x6, because when we built it, wood was unbelievably expensive.
Yeah.
So this worked. These are MDF. They were cut out before being put on, and then the studs have 2-inch holes drilled into the top and bottom of it, which allows us to run cables along the inside of the wall.
Right.
And then you can pull all the panels out and gain access to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just above it, there's actually a 3-inch gap, and that allows us to pull wires in and out of the wall underneath.
Right.
And then I added the LED lighting so we could actually see under here.
Yeah, which is nice, because then if you're doing work down here, you can kind of see what's going on.
Yeah, and then anything else is just sort of installed in there. So we've got SDI, that's for the projectors, and then network drops and power drops here. And then if we come up to the top, there's a 1-inch gap here.
Oh, okay.
And so this allows us to like drop wires in and out at a specific location.
Right.
And then we can run it through those holes and then bring it back up. Right. So we have the option of like going in here and then into, there's actually a conduit out of here and run to wherever. Right. Or it can just drop in, go over and pop back up, or it can pop down and go into a plug and that type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
We built it tall enough to hide all of our computers.
It is nice.
Yeah. We went with drafting chairs because we went with a standing height desk, so you can work standing up.
Yeah.
But if you want to sit down, the chairs are tall enough, and you can get it high enough you can just see over the edge.
Right.
And then on the edge here, we put a 20-degree angle so people can't put drinks up here.
That's smart.
Yeah. The back part is actually double thick so that we mounted the monitors straight to the back of the booth.
Double thick as in like the...
Like there's 2 layers of this wood.
Oh, this is wood.
Yeah. Well, it's MDF, but it's 2 layers of
I
it.
thought it was like drywall.
No.
It looks like drywall.
Yeah, it's 2 layers of this so that it's thick enough to hold the weight. So I've got these monitor arms, and that just cleans up some of the space underneath.
Yeah, if you got a heavy monitor, if you got a couple monitors.
Yeah. And then I went with color LEDs along the top. These are like a diffuser to sort of spread it out.
Yeah.
We generally run white, but then if we have all the lights off, we can run it in, oh, of course the battery's gonna die. There we go, red. So then we're not like a big beacon when all the lights are off in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've got 2 conduits on this side and 2 conduits over there that run into this space, which allow us to either come into this rack or go anywhere else, because it goes up into the attic from there. So that's the general sort of booth construction.
How deep is your
It's 36 inches up and 36 inches deep. So we went with a really deep desk. We had the room, We space this out so that people can be sitting at it and walk behind.
Right.
But then with the extra depth, that allows people to either, you know, you can pull the stuff up to you if you want, or you have space to put like papers or anything else in front of you. So the deeper the desk is, and then it was mainly based off of the soundboard because with that, there's actually space in front of it now.
Right.
But yeah, so I think it's 36, and then it's 36 off the
36
floor.
from that. So from here or from kind of this?
I think from here to the ground.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's standard like whatever bar height
Which
is.
is nice because you can either be standing or you can sit kind of, and these chairs are adjustable too.
Yeah, they go up and down, and then even the footrests adjust. They've just
Okay.
eventually they'll slide down, so you gotta slide them back up. So then the next thing I'll say, we'll probably just go across here in our section. So first computer here is our ProPresenter.
Yeah.
Something got caught in my throat. So at ProPresenter, we've got a PC here running it, and then in the back we have a Blackmagic DeckLink 4 SDI card. So the outputs from here actually go SDI into our video switcher.
Okay.
The only thing actually plugged into the graphics card is this screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it is nice because it's there's a couple of benefits, a couple drawbacks. So the benefits are the computer doesn't see extra screens, so you're not losing your mouse. It can only be on the screens you can see. Yeah. But that also means you can't just drag stuff over to the screen. Those SDI things only work on ProPresenter.
Right.
The other downside, these like live, not live buttons don't work with SDI. It only works for the graphics card outputs.
Okay. Yeah.
So those do nothing now. So the 4 outputs that we use, I've got a main screen up at the front, stage display right behind us here, and then the last 2 are our downstream key for lower thirds lyrics. Okay. So we use alpha key, so that requires a key and a fill signal, so that's all 4 outputs. If I wanted more, I'd have to upgrade the card. They have an 8 output one, okay. But for now, that's all we need.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the other stuff that we do from here, I use a lot of macros to set off timers, music, cut music, and then I actually have some MIDI commands in here that run to our lighting computer to change the front lighting.
Right. So how is that all, like, how do you tie that in from your lighting board, which we'll get to later?
Yeah.
How do you tie that into ProPresenter? Like, how does that run? Is there cables run from that?
No, so this one's all network based. So with PC, you need to download a program called RTP MIDI. And if you go on their site, when you download it, it explains how to connect them, but it'll basically, you have that on both computers, and then they'll see each other, and then they'll now send MIDI back and forth.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, once you have it like running, it just automatically reconnects as long as they're both on. And, and then in ProPresenter, I just created a macro and then added a action for communication, MIDI note on. Okay. And then if you go in here, then you would just choose the note.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this, when I hit band lighting, it outputs a D sharp 2 at a 20 intensity.
Which is what triggers the...
Yeah, and then on the lighting console, I tell it that if it sees a D sharp 2 to fire this lighting scene.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll show you on that end as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, just use the macros on all of our different sections to change the lights, change what the back screen looks like, turn on or off whether we're sending like lyrics to the computer. So if I hit our first music slide here, we now have our lyrics on there. Yeah. And so that's this downstream key.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So if, yeah, that's about it. I mean, and then if you look up the front, the lights came on.
Lights are on.
Yeah.
When it's nice that you're just running ProPresenter on this computer like alone, it's not like you're running like an OBS, you're not running like an Audacity, you're not running like any other types of things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's generally like as much as possible, like run one thing.
Right.
Not because the computer can handle it.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, let's see here. We go to our performance. We're using 10% of the CPU,
Because you have
12 gigs out of 32 of memory, and then 8% of our graphics card. But if this fails, all that fails is ProPresenter.
Right.
I didn't lose a stream. That's a completely different piece of hardware.
That,
yeah. So, yeah, that's overall. I mean, the general way we use it, like I just have a Monday chapel, Tuesday chapel, assembly playlist, and then I just replace the stuff as we go instead of making a new playlist every time.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So on to the next one here. This is our video switching position in the video director. So this one's a little bit more complicated, but because of how this thing works, I needed a TV.
Right.
And we happen to have this one. I wouldn't have gone this big.
Right.
We just had this somewhere.
So
this is just a remote control. It's PoE, so it's just powered over this Ethernet cable.
Okay. So what model is this? Like this Blackmagic?
Yeah, this is a Blackmagic 1ME10 controller. I can't remember the exact term for it. The video switcher itself is actually over there, and that's a 2ME constellation.
Okay.
So that's 20 inputs and 12 outputs. Okay. And then you get stuff like 2 downstream keys, 4 upstream keys, super source. There's a whole bunch of really cool things you can do with it. Okay. So this just makes it easier to operate. This is an extra thing that's kind of nice to have, but if not, you can always run it off the software as well.
Right.
So generally how we run when we're in pre-service or the countdown, we'll have this running to our live stream so people can see that. And then we'll use auto, and we just use a mixed transition, and we'll fade into the service. It's set to a half-second fade. And then from there, we'll just choose which camera with the bottom preview row, and then we'll just use cut. And generally just use cuts because fades are kind of old-fashioned now. But someone will probably disagree with me on that. So that's the basic use of it. Right now, like I have key 4 on for the upstream key, and that just gives us this like station bug. So we have our logo in the top corner over the whole stream. I have key 1 set up as like a picture-in-picture. So if I press this, it brought it into preview. So this is showing you what this will look like when you hit a transition.
Oh, okay.
So if I hit fade, it'll fade this box in right there.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then it'll fade out. And so generally it's on this background key. So this is telling you you're transitioning what's on the background. Right. If you select this, now I'm transitioning key 1. Key 2, key 3, key 4. So you can see now that I've picked key 4, it's showing me that that'll be gone because it's already on. So if I transition now, it takes it away.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
So this is you choosing what you're switching.
Right.
You can also do multiples. So like if I press background key 1 and key 4, it'll change the camera. It'll bring in this picture-in-picture, and it'll take away our station bug.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And then you can, and then you can like, so then I switched the camera and brought the station bug back. Right. So generally, you're not doing a lot of that. But yeah, key 1 will often, if we want picture-in-picture, we'll bring that in. You can choose what type of transition. So we generally use just mix. That's just a fade. Yeah. There's like a wipe, which is very Star Wars.
That's very gross. Yeah.
ARM does nothing right now. It's a button that they added for later things. Okay. Dip is like a fade to color. Someone dipped it to the wrong thing. Someone was messing with this. There we go. So now it'll dip to a color.
Oh, interesting.
And then DVE is digital video effect, and then so it's a. You can even.
Oh,
stuff
that's
like
crazy.
Yeah.
That's
so that's
cool though. Like
that's a push, and then they have like squeezes.
Oh, that's weird. But that's, yeah, I don't know what people would use that for.
No. So one of the things to notice with it though is, like I said, these are upstream keys and these are downstream keys.
Okay.
So if we go back here and bring up lyrics, so we have this is our downstream key.
Right.
Maybe I should record this too. Oops, nope. There we go. So the words are our downstream key.
Okay.
And the little logo is our upstream key. And so what that's saying is it's upstream of the transition and downstream of the transition.
Okay.
So if I do this squeeze, you can see there's another logo.
Yes.
It's gonna take over.
Interesting.
But if you watch the words, there's not another set of words, it's after the transition.
Because it would look weird if you were bringing in
Yeah.
a set of words. Yeah.
So normally when it's on mix, you don't notice this because it's fading in and out, but it's fading the same thing.
Right.
So then
Yes.
it'll look exactly the same.
Okay.
But yeah, if we go to DVE, it's a good way to see that like this is a downstream key
Right.
because it's not in there.
Yeah.
But all of these are upstream. So they're happening before this transition bus.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Then another way to control this, like I said, is you can just do this from the software.
Okay. But you have to have this.
No, you don't need this at all. You need the video switcher.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this
So
is just
extra.
This is just hardware. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. This is just extra. It's just a nicer way to do this.
Sure, yeah.
And then on here, so our mixer's a 2 ME mixer. That's 2 mix engines. So one is for the live stream. That's our ME1, and then ME2 is for the projector.
Right.
So what that allows us to do is I can switch. So if I go over to ME2 now, you can see it's got different cameras selected.
Yeah.
So I have main screen, so that's coming out of ProPresenter into the video switcher. That's what's supposed to be on the front screen.
Okay.
But if like camera 5, like I said, is this computer, if someone wants to like play a Kahoot game,
Yeah.
I put the Kahoot game on that computer.
Okay.
And then when they want to play it, I can transition it over. And now that computer is on the main screen.
Oh, okay.
And this isn't. And then I can switch it back. But I can also put like cameras on there.
Right.
So the way this SuperSource is set up, this is what goes to the screen up there.
Okay.
So that's what it would look like. But then I can transition this over to the computer.
Right. Okay.
Or we can put another camera up there.
Right. Yeah.
So it just gives you a bit more flexibility. And you just remember to go back
Right.
to ME1.
Yeah.
And then one of the things I was telling you about was macros, because the way you guys run it using OBS, you have the different scenes.
Yeah.
So what you can do is, if we bring up our macros menu, and then I'll just go to a further page. So what this does is just records all the like button presses you do.
Right.
So if I make a macro and go like pre-service, hit record, I can have it select, let's even do it gently. We'll do put camera 16 in preview and then transition it in. And then we can even go over to audio and shut off the audio.
Right.
And then hit record again. Oh, I didn't click in the spot, so it went to the front. So now I have this. So if I turn this audio back on and switch this to camera 3 and then hit run, it put the camera there, did a transition, turned the audio off.
So it went from preview to
Program.
okay.
So it put it in preview,
Yeah.
did a transition. You can even add pauses. So like, if I did that again, I'd probably, let's delete that. So if I select here, we go pre-service, so that because you were saying like you go to the screen, whatever's on like ProPresenter,
Yeah.
and you turn your audio off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we hit record now and go select our ProPresenter screen And
And
then
you just know CM.
yeah, 16 is that. Yeah, it's labeled there
Oh,
too.
okay, yes.
I think you can label them there as well.
Okay.
And then I can go add a pause of half a second. Then hit do a transition and turn off the audio. So now we go to run. Let's just set this stuff to different things. See, it selects 16, transitions it, turns off the audio.
Okay.
So you can run those, you could set up all of those different looks in here and run a macro and then have it play it back.
Right.
But you could also actually, if you use a Stream Deck, you can create buttons to do that as well.
Right. Yeah, because we have a Stream Deck at TCC.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have different so there's one that's like camera only, there's one with camera overlay.
Yeah.
And then there's a video button. I can't remember if there's another one, but because yeah, all we're doing is basically
You've created different layouts in OBS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Basically different scenes. So
Yeah.
like if someone's preaching and one of their sermon slides comes up, we can either do the other one was a full ProPresenter view.
Yeah.
Sometimes, most of the time, if there's not a whole lot of words, we do a camera with overlay. So it's still the speaker talking on the live stream, but there's what you have here shows up kind of below in the lower thirds.
Yeah.
And when they're done kind of highlighting that point, we just fade it out back to just camera only. So it's pretty simple in comparison to kind of stuff you've got.
So you could do that manually if you have someone who's video switching.
Right.
Or you could use those macros to create those different looks.
Okay.
And then you can actually just use the same buttons on your Stream Deck.
Okay.
So if I go into, so this is companion, so it's a way to override the Stream Deck. More options available.
Okay.
So I've got, in this case, I have OBS because I use it as a backup recorder.
Yeah.
And then I have Blackmagic Web Presenter in here.
Okay.
But if I add in an ATEM,
Yeah.
and then add,
So you're adding it, yeah. Okay.
yeah, so now we have an ATEM. If I go over here to buttons, we can go preset.
So you don't even need. So is this setting up? Can you virtually do a?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this would fit on
So you don't need a physical Stream Deck.
Yeah, this would fit on a Stream Deck XL.
Right.
If you used all the buttons and then you just sort of knock off some buttons for the different sizes.
Okay.
But there is a web interface and I use that because I don't have one. So I use that to start and stop our streamer.
Okay.
So over here, I can now pick the ATEM, and then there's just these are all pre-made buttons for it. And so we just have to find macros.
Oh wow.
And then
So these are macros, sorry, from where?
from the ATEM
Okay.
itself. So the one that we created should be in here somewhere. Needs to reload, or I may have deleted it. But you would create that macro in the software like we did.
Yes. Yeah. The pre-serve. Okay. Yeah.
And then in here, you would just find that macro and place it on here. And then you can press the button and it'll fire that macro. So you could have the exact same setup with this new video switcher. You would just have to figure out how to set up those scenes using macros.
Right. Okay.
But it just saves whatever state you're in
Right.
and how you're getting there. So you could have it switch to mix and then hit auto and then go back. So that would give you a fade in, fade out type of thing.
Right.
The other, like I said, if you just do it manually, if you wanted that picture in picture, I would just press key 1 and then fade it in.
Right.
So if you have someone doing it, you can actually just do all those things. But with this, you can create macros to do everything that you're trying to do. So it would still work the same way. You could just use Stream Deck buttons and everything.
Right. So with this whole setup, I know that you were mentioning before, because the way that we do it at TCC, to go live, does that happen here, or is that something?
Yeah. So this is the controller side of things. So if we go over here, the actual video switcher is in here. It was unlocked. So here's our video switcher.
Yeah.
And then we use this, which is a ProPresenter 4K.
Okay.
So we have an output from this into here, and then this is
output from an input or to an input.
Yeah, so it's one of the outputs from the
ME2.
the ME2 constellation into this ProPresenter.
Okay.
And then into an input. And then using the software, you just put your like stream key to YouTube.
Okay.
And then there's like an on-air button, so you could literally just push that.
And you would go live.
And it would go live.
So it would go live right to YouTube, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then you would either have to set up YouTube to do like, start when you,
right,
like the automated start, or you have to go in and press go live.
Oh, okay.
So however you have that set up, it would still work.
You guys don't push the go live button on YouTube or anything like you.
Yeah, we
have YouTube.
we do.
Do you?
Yeah,
Or you do?
yeah.
Okay.
So I have it set so it's not automatic. So we have to go like once we start the stream on there, I have to wait for it to come up in YouTube and I hit start.
Oh, okay.
Just because I do like a whole week at a time.
Right.
And if I have multiple, like it's a college, so we do chapels as opposed to
Right. Sunday service.
Sunday service.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what this is here. So if I hit start stream here, that hit the on air button over there.
Wow. Okay. So this is what again? This is the companion.
This is companion, so I could actually put this on a stream deck as well.
Okay.
This is just the virtual buttons of it. And then I have stop stream, which turns the on air button off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
So you would start the stream. You would then go to your YouTube.
Yeah.
You'd have there's a different screen.
Yeah.
Show here, and then you would click go live.
Yeah.
And then you're
Yeah.
live. Okay.
The other option too is
We schedule streams as well, and we just
Yeah.
yeah.
So the other option, if I just make one here. Okay, so this is that like you go live.
Yes, yeah,
so if you have enable auto start and stop, when I hit start stream, it will automatically start if that's on.
Once it gains the signal.
Yeah,
It's
once
not
it
gonna be instant.
once it gets the signal, it'll start streaming, and then if you have the enable auto stop off, if it loses signal for a period of time, it'll end the stream.
Okay.
So you could have it completely automated where it's just hit a button.
Right. So theoretically, if you push that start stream.
Yeah.
And you click this.
If I go here, it'll come up and ask me to go live now because I don't have those on.
Right.
And see that shut off now because it's getting connection.
Okay, but it hasn't recognized yet to go live.
Yeah, it's like a 30-second delay.
Yeah, and so we do this every Sunday too. Like we do that.
Yeah, so you can keep that, or you can even, if you are more confident, like not someone not hitting it at the wrong time.
Right.
You can do that.
So there, right.
Yeah.
So and it's seeing what's already like.
Yeah, what we're sending to it.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
And then if I go stop stream, it'll eventually lose connection. And
yeah. Okay.
So I'll show you the back here. If I can get this key in.
Oh wow, the whole thing moves. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So if we open this up.
That's pretty nifty.
So this is all the cabling that goes into here, which either runs back into the booth or goes into the attic and runs to other things.
Wow.
So it's kind of hard to see, but there's all the stuff in the back.
So that's a lot of SDI.
It's all SDI and then it's ins and outs. So I'll show you that over here.
Okay.
So even on the software, for this software control, if you go up here, there's an outputs tab.
Okay.
So these are the 12 SDI outputs that our version has.
And you've just relabeled some of them.
I've just relabeled some of them to what they are.
Okay.
And so there's our main screen, and so it's set to ME2. So it'll pull whatever is on ME2, and that was so that I can do video switching for the projector.
Okay.
The other option is just to send it the specific camera. So if I do this, nothing's actually changed. It's still showing the same image, but that's just because we were sending the main screen output from ProPresenter to ME2, and now we're just sending the input.
Oh, okay.
So if I go into ME2 now and switch this, oh yeah, super source is set to ME2. But yeah, it won't change on the screen now because our output is set to a specific input.
Okay.
If I want
to ME2,
then it'll do whatever it's switching.
Right.
And then I've got our stage screen, so that's actually just set to, that's the input from ProPresenter.
Okay.
So the stage display is coming out of that SDI card into the back of there into input 17.
Right.
And then I set the output 11, which goes to the projector, to send input 17 out.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
you're sending, so basically
Yeah.
sending with the back screen.
So this is like a video matrix. It's a version of that. So you have, it just shows you the outputs, and then you can send whatever it has out to that. Okay. So then we have WebPresenter 4K. That's our live stream. So that's set to ME1, so that it'll be whatever we're video mixing.
Okay.
And then I have a NDI transmitter. So it takes SDI in and then outputs NDI on our network.
Okay.
So this allows me, I have another computer in our server room that's running ProPresenter.
Oh, wow.
that we use for the signage around the campus.
Oh, yes, okay.
And so I have a calendar event scheduled in that to flip to an NDI stream at 10 o'clock so that we play chapel around campus.
I noticed that actually yesterday when we were in the atrium. I saw one of the TV screens change, and it caught my eye right away. And I was like, oh. I was like, Andrew's doing his magic. Like, everywhere around campus can see chapel now.
Yeah. So that's this. This is sending out an NDI stream. That computer in the server room is picking that up, and then I have like a calendar thing to switch over to like, it removes everything else, puts up the NDI stream. Right. So then chapel is played around campus on the TVs. Okay. And then at 11, when it's done, it flips back to the slideshow.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
And then this is a recent one I added. I have a small USB SDI capture card on this computer over here. Okay. So we sometimes have speakers come in via Zoom. Yeah. And so this allows me to send them one of our cameras. Okay. So generally I'll send them ME1 because that's our live stream mix. Right. But then once they start talking, that's what's on ME1, like, because I'm showing everyone them. Right. And so if I just left it at that, then they would just see themselves again. Right. Like there'd be two versions of them on their Zoom. Yes. So at that point, I switch the camera to like camera 1 and just give them a wide shot. And then in the future, the plan is to put like a camera up on the front, and then
so that
they can see everyone from the front. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. And then I have a whole bunch of outputs that aren't really being used. The first 4 outputs will be used. Right now I'm only using output 1 and 3. Okay. So they're just getting ME1. So what that goes to is the cameras. So my 2 center cameras, I got a wide shot and then this like close-up follow shot. Yeah. They have their line out. So it comes out of the camera into the video switcher, and like this is input 3. So we bring up 3, there's our camera. Right. But these cameras actually have an SDI in as well. Okay. And so you go from the out of that into the camera, and that gives you a few things. So one of them is I can get the program feed on the camera as the operator.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was pushing that button. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah.
So that's what's showing live. If you push that button,
that's what's live on ME1. So where that's really handy is like if we use SuperSource. Oops. So SuperSource is a like what's on the screen and a cropped version of camera 3. Okay. So it's the camera 3 operator. I have the whole view of it, but it's a cropped version. So if I double tap that, it'll lock it in. But now I can like see exactly how much of the frame they're in, and then it's easier to follow them. Okay. And then if I press the button again, it'll just pop back out. Right. So that gives me that return feed. You can run comms through. Like the video switcher has a comms input, and the cameras have a comms like plug on the side. You can do a 5-pin headset, or you can do like PC like 3.5 millimeter plugs. Right. Okay. And so that'll run through this SDI line as well. Oh wow. Okay. So you can do comms. It does the now I can't remember the term for it, tally. So this red light here or on the front.
Oh, okay, yeah, it shows
is tally. So if I cut to that one, so if I go to camera 3 in preview, the light turns green.
Oh, because it's being previewed right now.
It's being previewed, and then on the inside there's a green light, and it says preview.
Oh, okay.
And then when it goes live, the light goes red. Right. And on the inside there's a red light, and it says on air. And so that just lets, if you have a camera operator, lets them know that they're live.
And so that's saying, so that, like, how does, remind me again, how does that connect? Like, how are those two things talking to each other?
That's with that SDI return line.
Okay.
So on the video switcher itself, on like this is going into input 3, and then I'm using output 3 to run back into the camera.
Okay.
And then it doesn't have to match up perfectly. It actually uses a camera ID system. So if I go here, set up there. So this is set to camera ID 3.
ATM camera, okay,
Yeah, and the one up there is camera 1, is ID 1, and then that'll then use whatever these are, like the input side.
Right.
So if you actually need 11 outputs for different things, you can actually just use one and go into a splitter or a distribution amp, and then you could go to multiple cameras, and they would, because it's sending the data down like for all of them, and then it just uses the camera IDs to pick off what's important to them.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's Tally. Yeah, and then there's a whole bunch of extra stuff you can do with it. So like super source is a way to like to layer multiple things. So you can actually put up to 4 elements on there.
Okay.
So you could have like 4 cameras or 2, like if you ever think you watch the news and they have like 4 little squares of people talking, that's a super source.
Okay.
So that's what that is. So I use it to do that, but I can change the shape of them or what inputs are being used.
Right. Do you want to chat a little bit about kind of the cameras you got set up? Like, what do you?
Yeah, so we'll go on to the next. So I think that's about everything for the video switching side of things. That one's probably the most complicated.
I would agree.
So for the cameras, I've got 2 kind of junky old camcorders that I've had forever. They're next on the chopping block. Blackmagic actually just recently came out with a new micro studio camera. Okay. So it's this camera, all the same sensors and stuff, but it removes the screen and all these buttons. It's just like a little small brick.
Okay.
And I want to throw that on a pan tilt head. And then I would use someone sitting here using a Stream Deck to control that. Okay. Stream Deck and the software. Right. Yeah. So the Stream Deck would control like where it was positionally, and then the software would be to control. I can actually control zoom and focus on the lenses as well. Yeah. So if I go over here to cameras.
Oh wow. Oh, this is what. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this zoom here, if I pull this out, you can see the camera zooms in and out. Yeah. And then this will actually do focus as well. Wow. Yeah. So if I have someone sitting here with a Stream Deck for the PT heads, then they can control the position, and then they'll use this to like focus the camera. Okay. I haven't found a good way to like save the settings, so I can just do full presets. But it's a little bit more complicated, but the benefit is that they match this camera exactly. So then all of our cameras look the same. Yes. So the 2 on the outside are just older camcorders I'm going to replace. Yeah. 2 in the middle, I have one up front here that's just a wide shot. Okay. And again, we generally just use these controls if I want to like zoom out and see more of the room. Oh, okay. And so adjust focus.
Stream, you would
do that. Okay. Yeah, when it's not live, I'll if we need to, we can pull that out and then or push in. Okay. And then this one, we generally have someone operating, so they'll stand up here, and then just. We've got a nice fluid head. This is a Manfrotto Nitrotech. So it's got pretty smooth action. And then these are the hand controls for it. So this does focus.
And they're all designed by Blackmagic.
Yeah, these are designed for, they just use a USB-C connector and connect into the camera. Yeah, so this connects into this one, and then this one connects into the camera.
So is this camera from Blackmagic then too?
Yep, this is a Blackmagic 4K Studio Pro.
Okay, so like this whole screen comes with like everything?
That is the camera,
That is, okay.
Yeah, so the lens is extra.
So like a mount. What's this?
This is just a counterbalance to make it smoother.
Oh, wow.
When you add these things on the handle, they weigh more than the camera does.
Oh, interesting.
So I just bought a counterbalance weight, and then now they weigh the same, and so I can get it much smoother.
Yeah, so it's not always moving. Like
yeah. Yeah, so if I put it somewhere, it'll stay there because it's balanced.
Okay. Well, and this is nice too. I know you've explained this to me too.
Yeah, so the camera pull goes through the table. It doesn't actually touch it. The hole for it is larger, and then it goes through the floor of the booth.
Which is also kind of not touching.
It's not touching it at all. The carpet's sort of against it, but it's, and then what they did is they just sort of boxed it out when they built the floor.
Okay.
And then this is just bolted right to the concrete.
Right.
And so what that allows for is like if someone bangs the table or bangs the floor, it doesn't shake this because it's actually connected to the concrete.
Yeah, which is smart.
Yeah. So just having it separate gets rid of all of that extra bounce and stuff.
Right.
And so yeah, so there's the two like SDI lines there.
Okay.
And
So wait, so this is running.
so you can
you've
see
got
SDI in and out.
SDI out.
So this is the one that goes into the switcher. So like it's coming
Into the
out of the
switcher.
camera into the switcher.
Out of the camera into there. Okay.
And then we're coming out of the switcher into the camera. And that's what gives us like tally, comms, lens control,
okay.
all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And then there's just a power thing here.
Yeah.
These things, if you buy an extra adapter, you can also just run network cable to it.
Okay.
And that'll do everything.
Oh wow.
So you don't need any of these 3 cables.
Oh wow. Okay.
But it's like an extra $1,200.
Oh, beautiful. Think of that.
And then on this side, yeah, you've got 2 XLR ins. So for the live stream audio, I actually come out of the board into that camera.
Oh, interesting.
It was just easier than running it all the way back there.
Yeah.
And it gave me like audio meters of the live stream.
Okay. So you
Easily
can just
visible.
yeah.
I can look at the camera and see where it's at.
Yeah.
And
So you can have like an OBS open to see those types of levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and so it also shows up on this web presenter
Right.
meter
Yes.
as well.
Okay.
And then yeah, there's an extra USB-C port on this one, so you can actually hook up like an SD drive to
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah.
And you can record straight off the camera as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it records in Blackmagic RAW, so it's huge files.
Oh, okay. It's 4K too.
Yeah. So unfortunately, everything in here, or these cameras are 4K, the live streamer is 4K, but the video switcher is 1080p because they don't make a 4K 2ME one yet.
Oh, okay.
So if they do, I might swap it out. So our live stream is in 4K, but it's actually upscaling from 1080p.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And the main reason I do that is like, while it is an upscale, when you stream to YouTube at 4K, it's at a higher bit rate.
Right.
So there's more data there.
Yeah.
So just in general, it still looks better.
Right.
And if I pull that down later, then I have more data to work with.
Yeah.
If I'm doing any editing of something.
Okay.
So yeah, other than that, this is the zoom control.
Right.
So they can control the lens here, and that does the focus.
There's a speed thing too here.
Yeah, that adjusts the speed of
Of
the
the
zoom. So
Yeah.
if I do that, you can see it slowed right
Yeah,
down.
I was kind of playing with that when you were.
Yeah. And then it has buttons too that you can assign. These are all assignable. So I have this one assigned to do that, like what's live.
Yes.
And then this you can set to be like record if you have a drive on it.
Oh,
And then there's buttons down here as well. So there's a digital zoom just to pop in, but it's only on the camera. It doesn't affect the live stream.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a button to turn the grid on and off.
Okay.
So you have a whole bunch of
They're
controls.
just right on the tab.
Yeah, on the
I
back.
didn't even realize. Okay.
Yeah. And those are all like adjustable. You
Right,
can
you can program.
it in the camera.
Okay. Oh, right, because that's all through USB-C, right? Is
Yeah.
okay? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I have so the video switcher itself actually has a USB-C out for like a webcam.
Oh, okay.
And so that actually runs into this computer. So I do use OBS, but it's just as a backup recording in case something
In
was
case something was wrong.
wrong, and then I can just upload it later.
Right.
So that's just in here, and then I have OBS. And so you can see we've got,
Right.
it's just in there, and then I have the audio coming from the USB as well. And so it just does a straight recording of exactly what's going to the
To the. Yes.
the
Okay.
encoder.
Okay.
So this one will be in 1080p though. Yeah, we had one time where like our just network sort of died, and then we lost a whole section of something, and so
Okay.
now we have that as a backup.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, and then we stream at 4K. Just we have enough bandwidth, so that's one of the big considerations. So you don't need to, and they make an HD version of that as well.
Okay.
But the cameras being in 4K is really nice because it'll super sample. So it's 1080p. That you'll be using, but it looks sharper because it just has more data, and it's sampling it
Yeah,
down.
and I've watched your guys' live stream. Like it's crisp.
But
I
until
noticed
you can tell when you go to that camera though.
Right, yeah, but still though, like it still looks great.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like even the close shots of Mark Maxwell or whoever's speaking
Yeah.
or whatever, like you can tell that it's like yeah, it just looks good. So no, that's great.
Okay, so that's, we've covered ProPresenter, video directing, live streaming, cameras. And then we have audio here, so we run SQ6, like you guys just do now.
Yeah.
Where we differ a little bit, and you asked about this a little bit earlier, was for like in-ears.
Right.
So we have an AHM 64, so that's Allen and Heath's audio matrix. Because we have a larger campus, we have multiple areas that need specific audio.
Right.
I had a bunch of space in it, so to free some of this up so I could actually start using groups, because I had all of these filled with monitors.
Yes.
I actually sent a copy of all of our stuff over to the AHM, and then the app that you were using was mixing on that.
Oh, okay.
So it's a completely separate, we have like a monitor mixer basically.
Right. Yeah.
We run Dante, so we have a Dante card. We actually use the Dante stage boxes, so we don't use S-Link at all.
Okay.
So our 2 stage boxes up on the stage are 16 in, 8 out on each one.
Yes.
But they have a Dante card built into them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So they're just plugged right into our network switch, which is in here.
Okay.
And then we run from the network card, the Dante card, into this switch.
Right.
And then I use the software to connect them together.
Okay.
One of the main benefits of that, especially since for our live stream, we use another building, which I showed you as well.
Yeah.
I can pull straight from the preamps. So if I was using S-Link, it would come into here, and then I would have to use tie lines to go out of this board to everywhere else.
Right.
So that's already on Dante at the preamp.
Okay.
So I have a multi stream set up from each box. So one copy of it comes here. One copy of everything goes over to our live stream studio.
Yeah.
And one copy goes to the AHM to do the monitors.
Okay.
So all of them are being pulled at the preamp side of things.
Right.
For the live stream, we mix out there, and then I actually do use tie lines. So the audio from there, I've connected to here just to go out the analog
Okay.
XLR outs, and then it plugs into the camera.
Okay.
So it saved me from having to buy a Dante adapter to plug in the video switcher.
Right. Okay.
So if, like on IO here, if I go tie lines and local, you can see I've got output or input 63 and 64 on the Dante card is going out local 1 and 2.
Right.
So the 2 XLR outs just go there. So it's just tying them together. I can't do anything with it on the board, but it was just an easy way to get it into the room.
Okay.
And then I have a scene, if for some reason I can't get someone out there, I have a scene saved that will swap it from pulling from there to just pulling a mix off the board.
Oh, okay.
So if I use Studio Stream, then it uses tie lines to connect Dante to the camera.
Yeah.
And then if I switch over to Board Stream, it ties this like mix 3 to outputs 1 and 2.
Oh,
So that's the only thing it changes.
So if you didn't have someone out in the
Yeah, and I needed to like stream real quick or whatever, I can just load that scene.
and it would just be pulling from.
And all it changes, because I have these recall filters on, it blocks literally everything except for the patching.
Right.
And so all it's changing is the output patch
Interesting.
for output 1 and 2. So it's either going to be pulling from the Dante card or it's going to be pulling from this mix.
Right.
And then I have a post fader mix built on here that just has everything in it.
Yeah.
So there's all my groups now,
Right. Yeah. Okay.
which are nice to mix from.
Yes.
And then I still have one monitor on here.
Okay.
And so that's if I need to pull out a floor wedge,
Right.
then I can just mix from here.
Yeah.
And then the other mix I have is a Zoom mix.
Okay.
And so it's exactly the same as this live stream mix, except it doesn't have itself in it. And so that mix gets sent over to this computer when we have someone on Zoom.
Right.
So then they get all the same audio, they just don't hear themselves talk.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good feedback loop.
Yeah.
So this is a mix minus, basically. It's everything minus the one thing
Right.
that's themselves.
Okay.
And then I have like a USB Dante adapter on our Zoom computer here.
Yeah.
And so in Dante, I just basically patched the audio out of this into this Zoom fader or Zoom channel, and then the mix out from this into that computer. And then in Zoom, I have those selected as my mic and speaker.
Right.
I mean, you know this board.
Yeah, I know it pretty well, yeah. So,
Yeah. The only thing was like our two lectern mics up there.
Yeah.
I ran out of inputs in the stage boxes.
Oh, no.
So there's like there was an old snake built in. So they're actually plugged in on the floor.
Oh, that's so funny.
And then that snake comes out over there.
Oh.
And then I ran audio through the conduit, and then
Okay.
so they're actually physically plugged into the board.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah. For the monitors stuff, like I said, it goes to the AHM. We use the custom control app, which is an app from Allen and Heath to create your own apps to control. It controls either the Avantis, the D-Live, or the AHM.
Okay.
And so I made an app that basically just it's a bunch of folders. So the bottom is whose mix is it, and so you select your mix, and then at the top this is the master fader, this is the band, this is the vocals, this is the drums.
Yeah.
And then what you're actually mixing is a server in another building.
Yeah, that's great.
And then it just sends the audio back. So then that's linked via Dante right to the stage box.
Interesting.
So the outputs of the stage box aren't actually connected to this.
Wow. Okay.
So
Which makes sense.
yeah, so on that one over there, I have the 8 outputs go into 4 wireless in-ears, and that's how we get the stereo.
Right.
And then I have the 4 wired in-ears, and that's actually because I ran out of outputs.
Oh, okay.
I got it's a part of another system that we don't use.
Okay.
So there's a company called Clang. They do 3D audio in-ears.
Okay.
So it's really cool, but we don't have it and we can't afford it.
Yeah.
But that is the headphone amp for it. So it's a Dante enabled headphone amplifier.
Interesting.
So for the 4 wired inputs, it's actually just Dante into it, and then it's an amplifier, and then I run a 1/4 inch to XLR male to a little belt pack,
Right.
and then Shure SE 215s from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about it there.
Yeah.
For the actual speakers, like the mix, it actually goes to that AHM,
Okay.
and that's where I do my speaker processing. So I have like an EQ and a crossover, and then the output of that goes to the other stage box outputs. So one goes to the amp for the speakers, and one goes to the subwoofer.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And that gives me the ability to do some speaker processing.
Right.
Finally, over here, we've got lighting console. So I'm running,
Just close.
yeah. And then I'll have to like use the key to lock it in place.
Oh, it actually like moves back. Okay.
Yeah. So I just set up like a presets for everything. We don't do much with lighting here, so it's more of just so that the back wall isn't a black abyss on camera.
Yes.
So what we did is I did an alternating pattern. So these first ones are just like lights 1, 3, 5.
Right. Yes.
So if I do that and hit red, you can see there's like,
Alternates.
yeah, there's blank spots.
Program that within here, right?
Yeah.
You can do, yes. Yeah.
And then if I hit that, now it'll fill in. So these are the one set of lights, this is the other set of lights.
Okay, and so you're using Onyx.
Yeah.
And that's a free software.
Yeah, it's free software. I bought the PC controller, the NX Touch. So this also gives me like a license to do some extra things, like more outputs and stuff.
Okay.
But we still have a couple of like traditional lights, like that need dimmers. So I actually use this goes USB into the computer, and then this is DMX into our dimmer pack, which is behind us.
Right. Yes. I remember that.
Yeah, it makes buzzy noises.
Yes.
For the rest of the lights, all the front lights are now LED, and then all the stage color lights are LEDs.
Okay.
And so I use a ArtNet Ethernet adapter, so it's just plugged into the network.
Okay.
And then this sends out ArtNet, and then that turns it into DMX, and that runs the lights.
Okay.
So it's just it's just network connection. So all of so there's one up there. There's that box above the second light.
Oh, yes.
So that's plugged into our network switch along with this computer. And then, so this is communicating with that box via the network. And then it goes out DMX into the first light and then just
trickles, yeah.
jumps through the rest of them.
Wow. Okay.
So I've got the color presets here, and then I've got like, so the bottom one's here for the front lights. So pre-post service just turns off the stage lights. So it just leaves the color lights up.
Yeah.
And then speaker will just light up right in the middle.
Okay, yeah.
And then if we have someone who likes to wander, I've got a wide one that turns on some lights to the side of it.
Walk into the darkness.
Yeah. And then band just turns on.
Kind of more the stage.
It's the whole stage. I can also turn off sections like we don't have a keyboard player, I can turn off that light. If we don't have an electric guitar player, I can turn off that light.
That within the settings.
Yeah, I would just go into programmer, adjust it, and then update the preset.
Okay.
Then, so this is where that like MIDI connection comes in.
Yes.
So it also has RTP MIDI on it,
Okay.
and that allows them to talk to each other.
Right.
Then in Onyx, what you have to do is set up like a MIDI scene. So you can, if I select this one and then go into here, this one is set up so that when the program opens, it automatically plays this scene. So it's always running. And all it does is a bunch of macros on it connected to those, connect the scene to the note.
Right.
So if I go edit and add macro and click on that macro, you can go, you have all these options here. So we want a MIDI macro. And then you can choose which scene it's going to play.
Right.
So let's say we'll do the white color on the wall.
Yeah.
And then if I actually fire a MIDI note from ProPresenter, it should show up in there. Let's go new macro and then add, here, you want to see this one? So I've got a blank macro.
Yeah.
Go add action, communication, and then we can pick a note. So let's do D1, and then I just add some intensity. So if I click this now, and we go over here, you'll see that note showed up.
Oh, interesting.
So you can do this with anything MIDI. So like if you had another like controller, it was a MIDI controller plugged into here, you just press a button and then it'll read the MIDI. And so now I can select that this note on will fire the white. So we hit apply and then go back to playbacks and make sure that this is on. So now if I hit the new macro, there.
Okay. So wait, so how are these tied again? How is this tied?
It uses a program called RTP MIDI.
Right.
So it's networked MIDI. If you have Mac computers, they have this built in.
Okay.
So for PC, they either need to be like USB connected, like to a MIDI controller, or if you're doing it from computer to computer, as long as they're on the same network, you can use a program like RTP MIDI, and it'll send it. There's another version of that program for sending it between programs. So even if you had this running behind ProPresenter, then you would use a different version of it, but it'll just send it between the programs. And so yeah, I just basically created a MIDI button. I pressed it, and then it showed up in here, and then fired a MIDI macro.
Okay.
And then you just tie the whatever playback you want connected to that MIDI note,
right,
and it'll play it back when it presses. So I don't really have it set for these colors because I'll generally just sort of like set them for the day.
Yeah. And it's nice that you get a touchscreen too.
Yeah.
This is that ViewSonic touchscreen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you want, like, I have this as an override to do like rainbow colors.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Or where's it? Blink. So it's blinking the front lights.
Oh, interesting.
So if you mix those together. Yeah, so that's like effects programming.
Like you're in freaking Mario.
Yeah. And then I also have like some override. So for the stage wash, if it's too bright, I can actually like control this. So this is an inhibitive fader, so we can pull this down.
Okay.
And then same with the color intensity, I can pull this down if it's a little too intense.
Yeah.
So that's where like this is kind of nice just for like doing the extra things, and then for just basic stuff, just using the touchscreen is good.
And so what type of lights do you have hanging there? Like both
So those are
on the stage. Like
yeah. So our main front lighting is Ovation wash lights.
Okay.
So there's 8 of them, and then there's one extra light that's a Lico. And
that's the one right in the middle, right?
Yeah, that one's more like a spotlight. It gives you like a hard circle.
Okay.
So I'm using that to light the drums, because if I used a wash light, it would wash out the screen.
Ah, that's a good.
So by using that, I can shutter it off, so it's only hitting the drums.
Okay.
But I wasn't before, but it was just really dark back there, so we added that light in.
Yeah.
And then the back wall, those are Chauvet color bands. That's from like their DJ line, so they're cheaper, but they work pretty good.
Yeah, they look good. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are even like, you can split them on the light as well. There's 9 little lights in that bar, and each set of 3 has its own address.
Right. I think I remember.
Yeah, so I just use the whole bar just because of how our stage design is, but you can mix it up.
Yeah. So and how are those ones on the stage connected again to the system? Like how do those?
There's that box that's up there. There's another one on the stage.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just plugged into the network, and then they use a protocol called ArtNet to send data over the network.
Okay. It's a lot of network.
Yeah, I love network. It makes stuff super easy. You can just
Sounds like it, yeah.
drop stuff in.
Yeah.
And then you saw the live stream.
I did see the live stream.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
So the live stream room, like I said, they grab a copy right off the preamps. So the only thing that we share is gain. So whoever's running this, the most important thing I tell them is like set gain.
Yes.
And so we're aiming for that 0 point, and then that gives me good signal level over there.
Yes.
And then we run a computer DAW, and it runs PreSonus Studio One.
Okay.
And the main reason I picked that one is they have, if you buy their Pro one, which is a couple $100, it has a listen bus. So there's actually like a fader control for in the room.
Right. Okay.
So you can solo things or change the volume in the mixing room, and it doesn't affect the live stream at all.
Okay.
And you can make that work on a few other programs, but Studio Live is the only one that's like, it's built into it.
So all you're doing is, you're sharing your preamp from here.
Yeah,
And
well,
how-
from the stage technically, but
Right.
yeah.
And so, and how is that connected again? Just remind me.
Dante.
Dante. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here, actually, I can show you on here. If I open Dante, you've seen the controller screen.
Yes, I have
Yeah.
seen the controller,
So you can see we actually have like, there's our classrooms. Yeah.
Holy.
So I have them named, so like Kirk Chapel, and there's that clang, so that's the in-ears, the wired in-ears.
Okay. Yeah.
So if we go to, we'll go transmitter from the stage box. So the stage box is connected to, the studio computer is off, so it won't show up in here. But if I open up, there's the soundboard.
Okay.
So the stage box is connected to the SQ6, and then it's also connected to our AHM. So we send the channels from the preamp into the AHM, and then it allows us to mix monitors. And then if the studio computer was on, it would also show up in here, and you would see the same things all being sent. Yeah, so I'm sending 3 copies of the same thing to just the multiple locations.
Oh, okay. Which is nice, which is convenient through Dante.
Yeah. And then, and then I have like, there's the studio speaker, so that's that like Dante adapter plugged into the subwoofer in there.
Right, yes.
So this is getting sent from the studio computer itself.
Okay.
So the studio computer is outputting 4 channels, 2 to the room itself, and then 2 to tie lines into the camera.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of good things that you've got going. Yeah, a lot of network, which is.
It makes things so much easier just to like,
Yeah.
because like even with the lighting, if I get another So that's an eNode 2, which they don't make anymore. But if I got something similar to it, and I would just connect into a network drop, and I would just have to configure the network port, but I work with IT on that. And I could just set up a light somewhere. Like I could take one of those lights off and move them over there and then just plug it into a different network port.
Interesting.
And it's done. So, I mean, one of the nice things, like we're a college, so we have network drops everywhere. But even like when we do special events, like my stuff is in stage boxes because we move it. So when we do grad or the conferences over in the RDAC, we just pick all this stuff up, move it over there. It's still on Dante, so we could still live stream the audio through our stream studio because the connection will still be exactly the same. It just plugs into the network, and then we've got fiber between all the buildings. And so it just makes things like infinitely adjustable. So yeah, that's about it. Hello to future Tim when he watches this back.
Yeah.
Hi, Tim.